In one of my previous videos, I purchased a used 29er with the intent of upgrading all the components. The bike was rideable when I first bought it, but I felt that the 29er had a lot of untapped potential. The first upgrade, which was one of the biggest difference makers, was the tires. The bike came with thin WTB Nano tires, which aren't well suited for mountain biking. I picked up a pair of WTB Trail Boss tires on discount for $44. These are proper mountain bike tires, which are fast rolling and provide adequate grip. The original stem was too long for my liking, and most of the pinch bolts were rusted because the previous owner left the bike outside. I purchased a Wake stem from Amazon for just under $10. I have one of these installed on my other bike and it has served me well over the past year. This stem is really hard to beat for $10. I ditched the stock pedals for I'm Rider flats that I picked up on Amazon for $20. If you want to see more about these pedals, check out the review I did a while back. My other pair has held up well over the past year. The bike came set up with a Shimano 3x8 drivetrain that I was never able to dial in properly. I planned to get rid of the 3x setup for a 1x system. I stumbled across a wide range 8-speed cassette and went for a 1x8 setup. I purchased a Sunrace 11 to 40 tooth 8-speed cassette from Amazon for only $28. This cassette comes with an adapter so that almost any derailleur will work properly. For the derailleur, I went with a SRAM X4 setup because I had a similar setup on a previous bike and it worked flawlessly. This setup shifts really well and works better than the 3x system. The nice thing about having a 1x8 is being able to get up and down to the gear that I need quickly. However, I do find myself wishing I had more variance within the gears. I often find myself in a gear that's either too high or too low and having no option in between. For my gear up front, I went with the highly rated Solo Drive 32 tooth chainring that has yet to drop a chain. The bike came with Shimano rapid fire shifters which have the brake levers built into the assembly. Replacing the drivetrain also meant that I had to upgrade the brakes as well. The biggest issue with these shifters is that you have to take your fingers off the brakes in order to shift into higher gears. This can be problematic if you need to change gears while braking at the same time. I picked up a SRAM X4 shifter to match my derailleur. The shifter only requires a push of the thumb to shift through the gears. I ended up buying some entry-level Tektro hydraulic disc brakes that included new 160mm disc rotors. In total, it cost me $60 for the front and the rear. These brakes are better than stock mechanical disc brakes. However, I wish I would have spent the extra $10 and went with the Tektro Aurigas. Lock-on grips are a must for all of my mountain bikes. I ordered some Origin 8 locking grips for $13 and they worked as advertised. Nothing special, but they work. One of the biggest upgrades was replacing the cranks and bottom bracket. I took a chance on the IXF crankset and bottom bracket. My biggest issue with the crankset, which I discovered on install, was this little plastic piece that sits on the non-drive side of the bottom bracket. It fell out when I pushed the shaft through and wouldn't go back in easily. As you can see, the cranks wiggle free if the piece is not installed. I think they could have come up with a better solution than what they did, but I only did pay $42 for the whole setup, so I can't expect too much. I thought that the stock saddle worked just fine, so I haven't upgraded it as of yet. One of the biggest weak spots on the bike was the Suntour fork up front, which was more like a pogo stick. I wanted an air fork that didn't break the bank. I came across the Suntour XCR on Amazon for $142. The fork was highly rated and had proper 32mm stanchions. The stock fork only had 28mm stanchions. I ordered the 120mm version, but it does also come in 100mm of travel. The fork also includes a lockout. After all the upgrades, the bike went from looking like this to what it looks like now. It's now a 29er that I think any beginner to intermediate rider would be happy to own. The changes that have been the biggest improvement are the tires and the front air fork. The old tires provided little to no traction and would wash out all the time. The old fork felt like a pogo stick and didn't do much to cushion the ride. The new air fork provides improved traction and comfort. The biggest weak spot, which I didn't show, was a cheap bottle cage that broke off when I was riding. I should pay more than $5 next time. The bike has handled everything that I have thrown at it to date. I have yet to get a flat or have any serious mechanical issues. The most notable characteristic about the bike is how fast it is. I have set all my fastest Strava times using this bike. Overall, this was a fun project to take on. I learned so much about bikes by making all these upgrades, and I recommend other people try projects like this too. Anyways, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that it inspired you to go out and ride. I hope that you tune in next time.